Wow, ladies and gentlemen. I was on the edge of my seat tonight. I was on the edge of my seat. I'm over here rooting for aces and jokers, understanding that Queens was throwing this HOH 1,000% because the plan was to go after the showmans. So make no mistake about it, this is what we love about this game. The underdog, the house target, has the ability to get themselves out of trouble by winning something. Now, in this rant, ladies and gentlemen, while I am going to explain why Christian winning HOH this week is not a good sign for the Cookout, I am also going to create the argument as to why, if you're a Cookout fan, it's better Christian won this than Alyssa. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the critically acclaimed, the Pop the Trunk podcast, now Patreon exclusively sponsored Hall of Fame. Recency Bias Radio, where no one is safe from criticism. I'm, of course, your humble host, Dave Smith, Pretty Boy Smitty, Protocol Paul, Pearl Game Ultra, Smith Dog Trio, the Rant God, Hotep Thanos, Throne Thanos, Metro Kaiba, the Pro Black Prodigy, the Shadow Realm Shaman, the Pronoun Punisher, the No Sleep Assassin, here to bring balance back to Big Brother US, Season 23, all of the above on that ISET test. And ACT, you know what it is. And we're back, ladies and gentlemen, for the 15th rant of Big Brother 23 entitled, We Grillin' Together, Coach. Now, this was a quote from Xavier tonight because, for whatever reason, Flambeau started dry snitching. You feel it, dig me? You know, I'm going to be a conspiracy theorist for a split second. What are the odds that Frazier, the guy who, in terms of having a pulse on the game, he could be better, there's more to be desired there. How is his pulse on Xavier so good? And how is he also the guy who spoiled tonight's blindside for us all by letting Brent know the jig is up? Yes, ladies and gentlemen, if you tuned in tonight expecting Brent to be blindsided by epic proportions, the reason why the streets did not get what we wanted is because of Derek Frazier. For whatever reason, he decided to be the nice guy. You know, part of me has to ask questions. Did he think there was a battle back? Is he worried Brent comes back and he snaps his finger on the Hotep Thanos side of the game and sends half of y'all to the Shadow Realm? It was bizarre. Even in Zhao's goodbye message tonight, felt like he was a little soft-handed. Like, Zhao, this guy has bullied you this entire season. You get the opportunity to clap back, have the last word, and you even sounded like you was, you know what, he could come back, man. I think he really thinks he's part of the mafia. But there's a lot of things to get down to discussing tonight. You know, I thought today's episode was really good. They tried to make it seem like it was going to be a blindside, but halfway through the episode, if you knew anything, you knew it wasn't going to be one. So yes, that is somewhat of a buzzkill. But this is what sparked Xavier saying we're grilling together, because you got Frazier trying to convince people Xavier might be a lawyer. And I think Sarah Beth was on the patio with Frazier. And then you got Xavier, of course, trying to play it off like, oh, man, what are you trying to say? I can't have vernacular. I can't have a vocabulary and be a model. I can't be intelligent and sound intelligent and be a model. You know what I mean? And then in confessional, you hear him say, you're in the Cookout with me. We grilling together. Shut up. I thought that was really funny. I thought that was really funny there. I'm also noticing this season, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if y'all are paying attention. You know, from a black perspective, have you ever been inside of a car and the moment you drive one time inside of a car, all you notice is that car on the block? Like, it could be driving past on the interstate, driving past on the expressway, driving past, you know, just on some random side street. You ever notice the minute you start sitting in the passenger seat of a car, it could be your friend's car, it could be your parents' car, it could be your grandparents' car, your aunts, your uncles, you notice that car all the time. Well, I'm noticing something. Ever since this Cookout Alliance has coined this specific name, have y'all noticed how every commercial through every episode this season has to do with barbecuing? Now, I get it, it's the summertime. But it feels like production is taking advantage of this product placement effectively. And I can't knock the hustle, make that money. But that's just something I noticed. I mean, tonight you had some dude, he started a barbecue with just for one hot dog, and that was the whole commercial. I'm like, what is going on here? But that's neither here nor there. I even saw a commercial last week involving a black woman named Tiffany talking about black businesses. seems too good to be true, but hey, I ain't mad at it, I ain't mad at it. Now, we see Hannah wanting to win HOH to target Kings in tonight's episode. Really, this should be Whitney's job, but she is pushing Hannah to do her dirty work, so X can't be mad at Whitney. Zhao acknowledges he can't target a king because he's in royal flush. Zhao then figures out Alyssa and Christian want Whitney out, so now Zhao is super conflicted, putting more pressure on Zhao to possibly win this HOH just to keep his team from losing 2 straight members. And see, that's the biggest problem. Zhao is in a conundrum, ladies and gentlemen. Number one, let's give him credit. In terms of his gameplay, in terms of his game acumen, he has shown such progress since week 1. The guy was a fish out of water week 1. He even had to admit out loud to Team Aces, I'm not good at this game. I don't get it. I'm a Survivor fan. I messed up. But to a certain extent, you have to acknowledge your mistake in order for people to feel some sympathy for you to work your way back. Of course, we all know Zhao won 2 vetoes in a row, and these played an integral role in why he's now included in Royal Flush, because he is respected. So that's the one thing I am happy about this week. Zhao should be off limits because Christian's HOH. Can Christian afford to turn on this strong alliance immediately? Make enemies out of all of Queens by taking out Zhao? I mean, at the end of the day, Zhao was clearly added as a 4th member of Queens, proverbially. So if Christian were to backdoor Zhao and not take out Whitney or Hannah, because my hot take, I don't think Christian wants a guy to go home. I think he absolutely wants a woman to go home. 3 guys have gone in a row. Christian's even self-aware enough to realize he's the only white guy left on this show. He knows that this is his week to shine. Right? He knows there's a lot of people thinking this season's boring. This Black Alliance is they're kind of anti-white, if you ask me. Well, now we have Christian as HOH. Those people who were about to snooze on this season, now they can get excited and gassed. I'm happy about that. I don't want this show to be boring. This is the reason why, to an extent, I didn't want Brent going last week. So at the end of the day, while we all can agree this isn't the best case scenario for the Cookout, at the end of the day, as long as Nam somehow stay the same and Whitney and Hannah are on that block, I think Hannah survives next to Whitney. But here's my take towards it would have been worse if Alyssa was HOH. Hear me out. I think if Alyssa wins this HOH, I think she absolutely targets someone like Azah. Absolutely. I don't even think she throws up Whitney. I think that was a throwaway bar. I don't think she meant that. And she said it to Zhao of all people. Zhao is who the Kings respect the least amount within that Royal Flush Alliance because he's by himself and he's the only ace. Zhao even acknowledged this to the audience, right? So at the end of the day, if Alyssa's telling anyone anything, I think she's sending Zhao off the most. Meaning, I don't think it's canon what she told Zhao. I believe if Alyssa wins this HOH tonight, Azah and Hannah are on the block, indubitably. I think that is the nomination. And see, here's the thing. If 2 black people are on the block immediately, one of them are probably going home. Because I think it's going to force people to get really nervous. They're going to start seeing, oh, well, this person who's on the block next to me is around these black people more than me. I think they're choosing them over me. What's going on? And that's why I don't want to see a scenario where Azah's sitting next to Hannah, because Azah has already been a bit self-conscious about how Hannah seems to be more in the loop than her. Now, to clue you all in, I clearly did a Patreon exclusive rant last night. I won't get into full detail on what we discussed last night, but a lot of stuff went down on feeds. Tiffany went full Frenchie and came back to the black side eventually to sum it all up. But Tiffany was pretty much conspiring against the Cookout for a split second. We believe it was Slop Brain contributing mostly to it. She came to her senses, then she came up with a new plan designed to get rid of any variation of Whitney, Christian, and Alyssa as the first 3 boots, and then they're going to start attacking the +1s that the Cookouts are responsible for. Very similar to how the Brigade had a +1. Of course, Matt Hoffman, he had Reagan. Lane had Brittany Haynes. And, of course, we had the winner of the season, Hayden. Earlier in the season, he had a showmance with Kirsten. So, at the end of the day, this is standard gameplay practice here. But with Christian winning this HOH, I don't think he nominates a queen. I don't think he takes that shot. Now, here's the thing. We still have a wild card to play here. I think this wild card is very interesting because Whitney gets to compete because Hannah and Zhao have already competed for wild card, meaning they don't even have to choose. It's automatically her. If Whitney wins this, then I'm even more... Well, actually, I'm actually rooting for Whitney to win this because that protects Hannah and Zhao automatically in theory. And if she wins that, then I know for a fact Azah or Frazier, as long as they aren't on the block next to each other, they have the votes to say. Now, Christian knows that Frazier was one of those hinky votes and he lied to his face. For all we know, Frazier could be a target, but I think Frazier benefits from the fact that Christian doesn't want to send another man home. I think Frazier, that's your saving grace here, along with his social game, which has improved a lot as well. So I think for the most part, the main people we should be concerned with touching that block is Hannah, Whitney, Azah. I don't even think Brittany is touching the block because she's fairly close to Christian. I think Christian will want to build more with Brittany by keeping her off the block to separate himself from the black men who threw her up. That's good gameplay, Christian. And that's why I'm predicting you to do it, because I think it's a no-brainer for your game. Why not separate yourself from them the same way they attempted to separate themselves from Frenchie's HOH? It's standard gameplay. See, as you all can see, I might not necessarily be rooting for Christian and Alyssa to win the game, but I really don't have a problem with Christian. I had a viewer trying to tell me that I should be harder on Tiffany for braiding Christian's hair than I am hard on Azah for defending Brittany's struggle bars and white girl tears. First off, it was good social game for Tiffany to braid his hair to make him feel like they are closer than they actually are. And now Tiffany is in an alliance with Christian weeks after braiding his hair, so it obviously worked to gain some type of trust and loyalty. See, what Tiffany is doing is helping her get a better position. My argument about Azah was always for the black collective. I think people lose sight of that because they get emotional over the player they false idly worship. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. You know, in the Rant last night, which is a Patreon exclusive, I had to hold Tiffany accountable for the first time all season. If you're an Azah fan, you need to be paying that $5. Because that's the fix y'all been waiting for. But I digress. But, oh, I'm good at marketing, ain't I? But anyway, so yeah, I'm very impressed with Zhao's social game awareness, him understanding the dire position that he's being put in by Royal Flush. He couldn't really afford to try too hard to win this comp. But to be fair, I got to ask this question as well. Production. Why did this have to be a team comp, huh? Last two HOHs weren't team comps, and you didn't even give those guys who competed individually, you didn't even give them a temptation to think on. This time around, Christian wins HOH. It appears there was no temptation you offered him as well, which passes the smell test, because I told you I was looking out for that. So I want y'all to know the continuity sticks with me at all times. But with that said, Coach, I think it's a bit bizarre that you would give the strongest team by far with an outgoing HOH a team competition to protect themselves. It's bizarre to me. It's almost as if production stepped in and said, okay, we don't want the whole house ganging up on another target again. So let's make this a team comp. That way, whoever wins, they have to share the blame or the shine. Makes the waters a little bit more murky. Now, from a gameplay standpoint, I'm not really that mad at it because I think feeds is going to be altered a bit based off this team comp. I think we're going to see a lot of conversations this week based around, oh, did you see how hard Zhao was trying? He was trying to keep his team safe. What was Zhao doing? You're probably going to hear some of that because people are going to want to talk themselves into not allowing Zhao to make jury. But I think Zhao, as long as he survives this week, he has to just survive one more, and I think he's in jury. So, at the end of the day, Zhao's going to be good. I'm mainly concerned for Hannah. But in terms of the goodbye messages, ladies and gentlemen, I mean Hannah and Tiffany. Now, let's keep it a bean. This guy was borderline, not even borderline. Let's keep it funky in these streets. You Hotep Thanos. I agree, Coach. He was sexually harassing this girl, Hannah. She had every right in the world to say what she said. And even then, she was very classy. Like, there were a lot of different recordings of that goodbye message she did to the point where she would come out and tell people in the kitchen what she was saying. Now, this is contributing to certain players within the Cookout believing that Hannah could be a bitter juror down the road. I don't like this type of stereotyping, though. It feels like the attractive younger black girl is painted in this light, similar to how Bailey Dayton was during BB23. Remember the perspective behind why Cody's alliance chose to keep Davon over Bailey last season? And no, I'm not going to make this about Davon. I'm just here to prove a point. Their argument was, oh, Davon's more level-headed. Bailey isn't. Bailey's explosive. We've seen how she cost Tyler the game. She's a bitter juror. That's not bitter jury. Tyler told her he didn't want or need her vote. That's bad jury management, not bitter jury. We need to stop saying the jury is bitter when certain players in Final Two make mistakes. That's my point. But I said all of this to say I don't think it's fair to categorize Hannah as somebody who won't make a vote based off gameplay and logic when she clearly is such a big fan of this game. 9 times out of 10, she is going to make the decision on who should win this game based off of who deserves it. And to see certain black players think of her in this way, from Xavier's position, his hands are tied. I'm not judging you, X. You can't outright tell Sarah Beth she can't have a problem with Hannah. You can't outright tell Christian and Alyssa they can't have a problem. That's just going to make them want her out more, right? But with that said, I think the cookout is going to get exposed this week, even if Hannah stays over Whitney, because they're going to count those votes. Xavier, now here's the thing. If they have more than enough votes to not need Xavier's vote, I expect Xavier to still vote Hannah out to cover himself. Actually, I think they will still have the votes no matter what, so Xavier should be able to do that and still cover himself. But, I mean, once you get to a certain point, do you really care if... Well, no, you got to care if you're Xavier. You got to care. You've done too well up to this point. You were able to get Brent out in such a good fashion. You're looking good right now in the game. You don't even want to run that risk. Yeah, if I had to make a prediction for Xavier's game, he's going to try to figure out a way to guarantee Hannah stays while voting her out to try to keep his cover from being blown. That's really his best case scenario. Then we, of course, see Tiffany and Claire confirming the strategy of targeting Kings as well to solidify it. I'm just glad the edit never implied Hannah was in more trouble than Whitney. Well, until the end of the episode, then they kind of snuck it in there, but it is what it is. Zhao then wisely tries to pitch to Tiffany and Claire to throw HOH to Whitney so she can take that shot. Very smart gameplay from Zhao here. And Queens was always going to try to throw it, and they did throw it. I'm watching this comp tonight. Joker's almost had it, but it looked like the layer before the last layer, they had it opposite. They had it wrong or something because they tried to put that little L shape. They tried to put that on top, but then they realized something else had to come in between. I think Aces had a similar problem. Man, these Kings, man, they're going to be legitimate threats. But see, here's the thing. The Kings being so dominant before jury begins, in my opinion, is going to be the reason why most likely you're going to see a Kings pagonging as soon as jury starts. Because there's not going to be a team twist that keeps them all safe all at once anymore. The minute someone other than a King wins, especially now that Christian has won this HOH, understand, Christian almost won the first HOH Frenchie won. He won a veto that was thrown to him by Xavier, and he won a wild card. This guy has pulled off the triple crown. You feel it, dig me? Wild card, veto, HOH. This guy's pulled off the triple crown. We're not even halfway through week 4 yet, and he's won all 3 comps so far. This guy is a legitimate threat, but if I'm keeping it a bean with you, I don't have any hate towards the guy. I think he's a sensible player. I like his style. He knows when to let other people get sent to the shadow realm and when not to. I really don't have any reason to nitpick the guy's game. I really don't. But, oh, there it is. I forgot to plug this laptop into the charger. The last thing I want is for this stream to end on y'all out of nowhere. So give me 1 second, coach. You know what I mean? Because I'm looking at it. You know, when you see the exclamation mark in the battery, you know it's going to get real. Give me 1 second. Sorry about this. All right, that should work. Do it got it? All right, yeah, we're good. We're good, ladies and gentlemen. My apologies. You know, I just knew if that laptop would have died, we would have been even worse in the paint. You know, it would have been much more of a weight. Any other takeaways that I want to get into? Oh, Brittany stopped spitting struggle bars tonight. Brittany gave up. She pulled a Papa Doc. Bang! See, that's why good things come to those who wait. You feel it, dig me? It was almost like the whole crowd was like, what? Down, 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 down. Had the shook ones beat in the background. Brittany was like, I don't have my sunglasses this time. You know what? I'm cool. You feel it, dig me? Like, Brittany, Chill out, coach. Chill out. And now that Christian has won HOH, look at Brittany in the kitchen. She ain't worried about nothing. She on her French Montana. And I ain't really mad at her. You've been thrown up on the block 2 weeks in a row. You deserve a week off too, even if I find you to be a little annoying. So I'm going to keep it a bean there. But yeah, Hannah in her goodbye message, she basically said Brent's arrogance wouldn't allow him to see that he was the target this week. Very true. Very true. I mean, Whitney tonight tried to tell Brent some things about himself. Hey, man, you just need to watch the way that you talk to women here and there. This guy Brent got snappy with her, and she was just like, oh, man, you're justifying why you're being sent to the Shadow Realm. You know, I'm trying to at least give you a wake-up call as to why the Shadow Realm awaits, but hey, man, stay stubborn. You feel it, dig me? Tiffany basically told Brent he got hit with stray bullets from every direction. I mean, that's part of the thumbnail tonight. Tiffany started off like, you didn't expect kings from the front. You didn't expect queens from the back. You didn't expect jokers from the right. You didn't expect aces from the left. I was like, hold up, coach. This felt like the episode of Fresh Prince. Cannons to the left of them. Cannons to the right of them. If you know, you know, coach. If you know, you know, okay? I'm bringing y'all back right now, coach. I'm bringing y'all back. What was his name? Rafael De La Ghetto? Tiffany had to go De La Tippy Toes on this man. You feel it, dig me? And you could tell what Tiffany said pissed Brent off. He was like, oh, okay. Let me not be problematic. Now, the HOH comp is a team comp called peer pressure. It's a puzzle, but you must reset the time. The time was like a shot clock in NBA. 25 seconds juxtaposed to 24, but same difference. You must reset the timer before it fully counts down, or else you must start the whole puzzle over. Or I think you got eliminated. It was one of the two. Either you had to start it all over for re-zero, or, but see, I feel like if you start it all over, you already know the order. You had to have been eliminated outright. That's the only way to really make that fair. But, yeah, so basically you had to keep it from resetting to zero. And, yeah, Team Kings yoked these people something serious. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. You allowed arguably 3 of the strongest individual players in this house to compete together when every other team has been decimated by their second strongest player, at least. Think about it. Frenchie, you could argue he was the strongest Joker. Travis, you could argue he was the second strongest Queens. Brent, you could argue he was the strongest ace. In my opinion, production, y'all wanted this showmance to win this HOH. I'm just saying what it is. It feels, and honestly, I get it. Who would not want a showmance to make jury? If you're working for the production team, showmances is money. And ain't nobody else getting it cracking. You feel it, dig me? I mean, it is what it is. So, unless Xavier says what's up to Whitney at a certain point, but listen, you know, listen, as long as Ozza in that house, that ain't gonna go. Oh, man. But see, this makes me want to ask a question. If Brent would have somehow been able to pull off a flip to stay tonight, and let's say Brittany would have left, that would have left Team Jokers with 2 members. Would this HOH comp would have still been done the same way? Or would they have scrapped it all together and had to make some individual stuff impromptu? See, I'm always worried when people design comps based around knowing who's going home already. It feels a little rigged. Feels a little predetermined. Feels a little overly manufactured. I'm not trying to nitpick. I'm just saying how it looks. So with Kings safe 2 weeks in a row, somebody from Aces or Jokers is going home. The blessing in disguise may be Christian winning HOH over Alyssa, though, because Alyssa would have targeted Ozza, maybe. So these are pretty much my takeaways, ladies and gentlemen. Now I want to answer y'all questions. I want to know your thoughts on this game. I want to know your thoughts on Christian winning HOH. Who do you think is going to be the target? Now that we are aware of the fact that Tiffany has concocted a new plan, which involves them getting rid of one member of this showmance before jury, and they want to get rid of Whitney, technically speaking, Tiffany's plan is still a go if Royal Flush can keep pushing for Whitney on the block. If they can keep pushing for Whitney on the block, if they can keep noms the same with Whitney on the block next to whoever, they can keep whoever's Whitney next to. Because Ozza don't want Whitney to stay. Actually, Ozza wanted Whitney gone this week anyway. Ozza was pissed Whitney wasn't on the block next to Brent. So We know for a fact that Ozza would prefer if Whitney left this week anyway, so it's almost good for Ozza's game that Christian won HOH. Conversely, Tiffany's plotting against the cookout is still at play because Christian and Alyssa are both safe this week. Now, technically speaking, Tiffany also had Whitney in her plans to weaponize against a member of Christian and Alyssa. That also is still alive because let's say somehow Hannah leaves over Whitney. Whitney now is on a warpath to get revenge on the showmans. This is good for Tiffany, who wanted this already. So, at the end of the day, I don't want Hannah to leave over Whitney, but I can see a path where if Whitney were to stay over Hannah, it would allow the rest of the cookout to allow everyone else to fight it out, and they could just blend in, kind of, sort of, like the Brigade did. But with that said, I'd prefer if Hannah stayed. Actually, I'd prefer a scenario where Brittany left this week, but I know we can't have nice things. I'm just keeping it a bean. I don't have a problem with Whitney. I thought some of the gameplay she displayed this week, snowing Brent, was exceptional. Same with Hannah, same with Zhao. I mean, that's why Whitney and Zhao were in my top 5 power rankings last night. Patrons know. So, shoot, even Frazier made it to the top 5. Claire did. I forgot who was the last member in that top 5, though. But it was an unexpected top 5. But yeah, so I'm excited, ladies and gentlemen. This is not doom and gloom. There's a lot of game to be played. Because this alliance was created, it is the one saving grace here. So if you're a Derek Zhao fan, don't be nervous, because Zhao technically went along with the plan by throwing the HOH. By not getting an ace to win, the plan is still a go. Now everything comes down to, can they keep those noms the same if Whitney's next to Hannah? Can they? So everything really rides on the veto, in my opinion, because those are the likely noms. But let's get into answering y'all questions. I'm on my way to the live chat. Oh, it's Whitney and Hannah, but it might be Azza and Hannah. See, that's what I'm worried about. The only way it's Azza and Hannah, in my opinion, Coach, is if Christian is 100% just Alyssa's puppet. Christian, I would like to think you're playing your own game, bro. And I feel like Christian has a better relationship with Jokers than Alyssa does. That's the saving grace and why I think Azza will avoid the block this week. That's the saving grace why I believe all of Jokers can take this week off. Unless veto is used. That's why I have that perspective. It's mainly because Christian is often in that back bedroom, you know, and it's because of his relationship with not only Brittany, but with Frazier that stems from Frenchie. And of course, he has a pretty good relationship with Azza, and I think that's why Alyssa wants Azza gone. You see what's going on here. So yes, I'm on my way to the live chat, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, I like tonight's episode, though. You know, no one wants a boring game, ladies and gentlemen. And yes, please do not forget to hit the like button, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, Whitney was fantastic this week, Insulin. I agree. Kingsley asked the question, do you think Claire could go up? I absolutely doubt it. This alliance, this Royal Flush, has a lot of strong players in it. Queens, part of this week's deal was for Queens to throw HOH because they wanted Kings to be targeted. Of course, Kings is not aware of what Queens was about to do. But I think Xavier expected what they had to do because it was the only move that made any sense. Now Xavier, you know, his game this week is pretty straightforward. I think Claire isn't targeted this week. I just don't think Christian takes that shot. Only way Christian takes that shot, in my opinion, is if Whitney wins veto and takes herself off. Then I think he might consider it. And the reason why I say that is because I think for Christian's game, I think he will prioritize a strong woman going before a strong guy just because he needs shields too. You know, I think if you get rid of a guy like DX, it's not smart. I don't think DX really threw at diamonds. I'm saying that to the queens and to the kings he threw it. Because the plan was for the kings to win HOH and go after Whitney. So by Aces not winning, Zhao can still keep that lie going. Spazamania says, if it's Hannah, Whitney, and Whitney wins wild card or veto, who would be the replacement? Great question. If it's Hannah, Whitney, and Whitney wins wild card or veto, I think and I kind of answered this a little bit. Spaz, I think there's a chance we could see Claire being backdoored. I think there's a chance. I think Tiffany's too close to Christian. I think it would be very funny if Claire happened to get backdoored by Christian because Claire very much so wants to use the showmans because she sees The odds of her beating Tiffany and Kai are slim to none, and she's beginning to see that her path to winning probably involves weaponizing that showman's well into the jury. Um, but yeah, so if I had to guess, if I had to give you a top two who I think replaces Whitney on that block if she were to win veto, I think it's Aza or Claire. I think it's between those two women. I think Christian tries to guarantee a woman leaves, especially since Alyssa's a little threatened by some of these women, probably. Card Gamer, I don't think Claire is boring. I think if you watch her on feed, she actually has a nuanced game that I think you have to be like really hardcore to appreciate. But with that said, Claire this week has done a lot of manipulating of Tiffany that put her in the first place ranking on power rankings. I highly recommend the Patreon video. I highly recommend. Ask the patrons. That was a live feeds deep dive last night. Tempest Prime. Shout outs to Tempest. Hope you're doing well, Coach. Ask the question. Oh, it just scrolled up for a second. What is something that you miss about Frenchie? I miss hearing Dad Gummit. No, I miss how Frenchie kept me up all night, man. Let's keep it a bean. I've never stayed up all night to give a live feeds update like that. Frenchie had me doing that. So I got to give the guy credit. So that's what I miss about Frenchie. I miss the energy he brought. But at the end of the day, Tiffany's been bringing it this week. So do I miss it that much? Right now, Rod asked the question, Coach, do you think Xavier wanted his team to win HOH this week? And is the team HOH comp a flop because a team can just win HOH every week with a different member? Great question, Rod. Because in theory, in order for the team HOH comps to be anywhere similar to the individual HOH comps, you would think if one team member wins it, none of y'all can win it the following week. All of y'all are sitting ducks. But I just think if you were to play it that way, it would be way too much. Oh, I'm on the mountaintop. I'm out happening. And I'd argue that's what happened to Frenchie, right? I don't think production wants that to keep happening because they saw, damn, we're losing good characters here. I think production wants men to not leave again. I think they 100% are like, okay, some of these women can start to go. And that's why I believe Christian's game is going to be more centered towards trying to even out these numbers a bit. It's 5 guys, 8 women. Make it 5. If you can get that to 5 versus 6 before a jury, any guy has a chance to win. But if it's any variation of 4, if it's any variation of 4, 7, or even 8 to 3 somehow, the guys don't have a chance. That's my thought process. Clara's not going up any. Yeah, I don't believe she's actually going up D. I'm just saying, if there's a wild card scenario where Whitney wins wild card and somehow some crazy stuff happens, someone wins veto, takes off Ozla, like I think there's a scenario where Claire could be put up because I just don't think he takes that shot at a Zhao before a girl. That was my point. But once again, I don't think Claire goes home this week. I want to make that clear. Selena for Life asks question, will Alyssa convince Christian to put up her true targets, Kai and Tiffany? No. Too early. You do that, now Christian is Frenchie. You know what I'm saying? And here's the thing, you can only get one of those out at a time. You do, but hey, I think from a gameplay perspective, that move is the best move in terms of shaking the game up and having everyone shook. That's the best move. For example, that's what Brittany would have wanted to do this week. So there is an opportunity here for Brittany to go to Alyssa and Brittany and Alyssa to be in Christian's ear and tell him to do that move. We don't know. But great question, Miss Selena, nevertheless. A Cookout member. Oh, thank you, Insulin. I appreciate that. Yeah, I tried to make the streets happy last night. Finesse Kid asked the question, what do you think Christian's nom will be? Pretty much, I think it'll be Whitney and Hannah. Blockstar, those live feed, those Patreon exclusives will stay Patreon exclusive. Hannah has haters. Man, Hannah has a lot of haters, yo. And I think that goodbye message to Brent is going to trigger more haters, Because, see, I've always said this, and I ain't trying to go too deep, but when a black person's confident, it's always cocky. That's all I'm going to say. Devin Bates asked the question, is Alyssa really targeting Tiffany? I don't think she's outwardly targeting her more than Aza. but I think she's definitely on a radar. Catnap asks the question, do you think that the Cookout will be able to keep together this week? I see Ozza being difficult about keeping Hannah. No, here's why. Because Ozza slipped up and told Hannah the Alliance name, Hannah's now in way too deep with them. Ozza cannot afford to be difficult about keeping her because Ozza made the mistake of telling her too much. Understand, the Cookout never told her the actual name because they believed she was too young and might accidentally just be a chatty patty and say it accidentally. Now that Ozza was the chatty patty who said it to her accidentally, they can't really afford to keep this narrative going that Hannah's the only leaky faucet in the team. Now Ozza has proven herself to be, and because of that, I think they can't afford to let Hannah go this week. I think they have to protect her because that will just build the morale more of the team altogether. Rod asked the question, Coach, do you believe that Hannah will talk herself on or off the block this week? Well, here's the thing. Hannah and Alyssa have this rivalry, okay? It's a weird rivalry, but they have one nevertheless. Hannah does a lot of flirting with Christian. I think she's touching that block. I don't think she talks her way out of this. So I just got to be honest. Whitney asked the question, what are your thoughts on Kylan and his position in the game? I think his position is a lot better now than it was when Tiffany and Claire were trying to pull the team aces into wanting Kai out or Xavier out. I thought Kai's game was looking really bad there because he was around Sarah way too long while that was happening. But with that said, I think Kai's in a good position right now because he's 2 weeks removed now from winning HOH. People are starting to forget how good his HOH week went. And the thing is, if Christian goes rogue this week, it'll only make Xavier and Kai look better to the house by comparison. Once again, it's real easy for Christian to be labeled in the Frenchie light if he goes against his alliance this soon. He has no choice. He has to stay true to them. We will see how well DX shifts the target from Hannah. Well, that's the thing. DX and Hannah now have a final two, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. So DX has every incentive in the world to keep her over Whitney, undoubtedly. So it's going to be a bummer for DX, though, because the first team that gets down to only 2 people left is going to probably be the easy team to throw back up. This is what Team Jokers feared the most, ladies and gentlemen. This is what we don't want for Team Aces necessarily. But with that said, I think there's a chance here that Aces could lose no members. I really do. The wild card is what really matters. It's that simple. The wild card is all that matters, you know. And you have to take into account, we might get some wild card twist that allows you to change spots with someone on a safe team, and that can make that safe person a target. What if there was some random... Nah, I don't think Big Brother would do that. I ain't even going to throw that out. I don't think so. If they created that Team HOH, they ain't letting that happen. Yeah, let me shut up. I don't think Ozza really likes Hannah, though. I don't think she really likes her either. But I think for now, though, I think she even knows she can't afford to let her go. Not over no Whitney. And Ozza hates Whitney a lot more than she'll ever dislike Hannah. So that's the saving grace here. I think she'll stay on code. Don't worry. Oliver asks the question, Coach, if Hannah and Whitney are the final noms, what votes does Hannah have locked in? Okay, well, let's take away Xavier if Xavier has to keep his cover from being blown. Hannah has Zhao in the tuck. She has Frazier and Ozza in the tuck. I think Brittany could want Whitney to stay, but if Brittany finds out that Christian's target is Whitney, she votes Whitney out. So that's 4 votes there. So now you got 4 votes among the Jokers and Aces that can vote. All of Team Queens would keep Hannah in this scenario, besides maybe Claire. But I think Claire votes with Kai and Tiffany because she doesn't want to stand out. So that's 7 right there. All you need to stay this week in Final 13 is 6 votes. So there you go. I think Hannah at least can collect 6 votes and stay. If I had to guess, it would be a 7-3 vote in all likelihood. Because those other 3 votes would be Alyssa, Sarah Beth, and Xavier keeping his cover from being blown, voting out Hannah, even though Hannah's staying. But here's the thing. I think even Team Kings will be smart enough to make this unanimous instead of voting out Hannah, unless they're getting blindsided like Brent just did. I believe, Blockstar, I believe she does have the majority of Cookout votes. I'm just saying that Xavier, for his game, he might not want to blow his cover by throwing a vote to get out a Whitney over a Hannah. He might have to make it appear like he's still with his team through thick and thin to cover up the Cookout, right? We don't want to expose the Cookout too soon. That's really Xavier's only play to cover for them. Tempest asks question, what scenario do you think would force a Cookout civil war? Nothing right now. I don't think that's coming at any point anytime soon right now. I think the group knows that would be completely stupid. Will Xavier save Whitney secretly in the eviction vote if Whitney and Hannah are the final noms to keep the Kings Alliance happy? Well, that's my point, Rod. I believe he's going to vote for Whitney to stay even if he believes Hannah will stay over her, if the rest of Team King still want to vote for Hannah to leave, believing they have the votes. Kat asks the question, why does Azah hate Whitney? I don't really know. That's why all I can do is speculate that some of her disdain from Whitney centers around Whitney flirting with X in ways that X won't flirt with Azah. Now, maybe I'm being too simplistic, but it does feel as if, to an extent, Azah is super threatened by Whitney, and it has a lot to do with believing Whitney can pull Xavier to another side. That's what it looks like to me. And you have to keep in mind, Claire also had a crush on Xavier, and it seems like jokers aren't that big of a fan of Claire either. So there you go. Do you think Azah will offer hers though again? You mean to offer to go on the block again? Absolutely. She ain't going on the block for nobody but Brittany, and that's sad for me to even say. Precious asks the question, do you think the team twist will be over next week? Especially since the remaining amount of people to play in the wildcard comp. I think it will be over next week because Julie revealed to us all that next week will be the first endurance comp of the season. A lot of people believe we haven't gotten endurance comp yet because the wildcard comp still exists. So this would be a natural assumption to make. Yeah, Eddie James, I think some of that is true, man. That gives me some vibes of someone that played BB23, but I ain't gonna go there. I already answered that. Kat X question, do you think Derek X and Hannah are going to showmance? No, I don't think so. I think Zhao understands that they need each other in the game, and this is strictly platonic for him. I think Zhao I think he has more in common with Hannah, but I think he's more attractive to Azah, believe it or not. That's my take on it. I think Hannah needs to win veto as well, coach. You know, but I'm worried if she wins veto and Zhao ends up on the block, then it's going to get real murky in the water. But I don't think Zhao's going to touch the block. I think it's going to probably be Azah that replaces Hannah. Who do you think makes the most entertaining final two? In terms of it comes down to the speech, who wins? Easily, Kylan versus Tiffany. Who do you vote for if they're both at the end? Tiffany, she has a child. She also played a fantastic game, I'm assuming, if she made it to Final Two and kept up this type of energy and pacing. Kylan, the guy who got out Frenchie, it really would be entertaining. Now, my version of entertaining in that situation would be competitive. I think that would be a competitive Final Two. In terms of a Final Two that would have me scratching my head because I don't know who wins in that scenario, probably Frazier versus Azah. I have no idea who would win in a Final Two with those two. I would like to think Frazier wins because Xavier and Kylan vote for their Final Three guy, but they could be bitter over not being in Final Three with Derek over Azah, and they could reward Azah. You never know. Well, Tempest, you said it before I had to. You said it. I ain't have to say it. You feel it, dig me? But ladies and gentlemen, I did not want this rant to be very long. I wanted to give you all a quick update on what I think is going to transpire. I know Christian winning this HOH has a lot of Cookout fans nervous. But ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot of game to be played this week. We still have the wild card comp, a veto competition. A lot can change. All right? So we need to keep our composure the same way the players in the game that incorporate the Cookout Alliance will have to keep their composure. And I think things will be okay. As long as Whitney doesn't win veto, I think the Cookout will stick together. I don't think anyone from the Cookout leaves this week, as long as Whitney doesn't win veto. I fully believe that And I stand on that. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you could, please do not forget to like this video, comment underneath it, and share it with all of the fans of Big Brother 23 that you rock with. I'm Dave Smith with Recency Bias Radio, where no one is safe from criticism. Until next time. The Stones, they have a mind of their own. If I snap, you'll disappear. Just like Brent's social awareness this week. No, Flamingo, can you believe this guy?